Welcome back into WUDP Senior Spotlight Edition. Today, I'm sitting alongside a great friend of mine, the WCTV General Manager, Matthew Mansfield. Matt, coming over here from Washington, Pennsylvania. Your mother actually went to Waynesburg University and was, I don't know if it would be the Department of Communication at the time, but she was the executive editor of the Yellow Jacket. Did that have any influence on you coming here to Waynesburg?
Yeah, it wasn't the comm department at that point, but I have a lot of family that's been to Waynesburg. My mom and my aunt went to Waynesburg. My older sister went here. Two of my cousins went here, as well as my cousin's wife. So that's like 6 people in my family that have been to Waynesburg. So I definitely knew about the university from a pretty young age, and I was interested in going here pretty early on, but then I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. But once I decided on going into communications, sports broadcasting, I kind of decided, yeah, Waynesburg's probably the school for me. And, it was cool having my mom go here and kind of work with the Yellow Jacket. I remember the first time I wrote an article, I was kind of excited to go to that meeting because it was like, seeing something my mom did way back in her day here and, being able to carry on that tradition. But I think that overall, definitely having family made me aware of the campus, but it probably wasn't the final factor in me going here, but it definitely was probably part of the reason I ended up selecting Waynesburg.
So you just mentioned about the final factor there. What was the final factor that made you decide that you wanted to go to Waynesburg University and major in sports announcing?
I was really torn for my major heading into my senior year. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was kind of leaning towards business for a while, but then I was like, I think I wanted to do comm. I said I just wanted to do something that I think I could see myself doing long term and enjoying, so I ended up in communications, and it was between here and what was then Wheeling Jesuit were my final 2 choices, and the department here just blew Wheeling away, so I kind of realized, I was like, if I'm going to go for comm, I need to go to the best school that I can get to, and Waynesburg, for everything I was looking at, was far and away the best school for my intended major. So that's how I ended up here, and that's kind of what decided and determined me coming to Waynesburg.
So let's talk about the radio station right now. Tell me about your involvement with WCYJ-FM. How much of an impact has that been on you? How much fun have you just had by contributing to the radio station with shows like The Point After and other shows?
Yeah, the CYJ is really fun. It's probably been one of the best experiences I've had at Waynesburg. Whenever I came in freshman year, I actually really liked radio more so than television or writing. So radio's always been fun. I remember the first time I got in on The Point After, which is our NFL talk show. Matt Schinkel and Mike Capelli kind of introduced me to that show. They'd had it the previous year, and they asked me to jump on board with them, and then I've done that every year since. And that was, I was really excited, super nervous, but it was a really fun time, kind of getting on air and kind of finding your own on-air personality through CYJ. I think that's kind of the first place I figured out my on-air personality and, figured out the ropes of what to do whenever you're talking to the radio, talking to an audience. And then I picked up Points in the Paint, our NBA show, which I've always had a good time with, really like basketball. So it was such a cool opportunity to be able to come here early on and get on radio right away, because a lot of other schools don't offer that. So for me, the first 2 weeks into my college career, to be on a specialty radio show here at CYJ, that was a really neat experience. That kind of kept me coming back for more with CYJ. But I definitely love the radio station and have a lot of fond memories just being right in that booth with a lot of my close friends talking sports or whatever.
Yeah, I remember I sat in on an episode with you one time for The Point After. It was the only episode I think I've ever made my debut on for that show. It was a good time for me, at least, and I'd agree, radio is probably one of my favorite things about coming here at Waynesburg University. It might not be the reason why I'm here, but it's definitely a great thing. So let's move over to talking about the Yellow Jacket right now. Obviously, we touched up on your mom being the executive editor. You had to follow her legacy, I guess we'd say here. So tell me a little bit about the impact the Yellow Jacket had on you as a student in the Department of Communication.
That was one of the first things I did, is I started writing early on my freshman year, and then I got away from it pretty much sophomore year. But since junior year, and then especially a lot last semester, and a little bit this semester, I'm starting up writing again with it. I started to get back involved with it, but writing is definitely one of those things that it's underrated. A lot of people don't think that writing is going to help you, especially if you want to be an on-air personality, which is kind of the route that I like. I like being on TV, like being on radio. But writing is one of those things that it helps you organize your thoughts and communicate a lot clearer. So writing with the Jacket has been really fun. It's been a good experience in order to, clear my thoughts and make myself figure out how I want to say something and how to say it much more clearly. And it's also cool just being on campus, writing sports, getting to talk to all the different athletes, getting to talk to all the coaches. And whenever I started writing, I still do this occasionally, send my mom my article to edit, the first edit, to make sure it's not too much trouble for the people in the jacket that are editing it, because I know they have so much on their plate. But that was one of those things that was fun, especially my freshman year, sending articles over to my mom, because she writes for a paper right now. So, talking about our articles a little bit was something to relate to with her as well. But yeah, writing with the Jacket's been a really fun experience, and especially, having Drew Rhea, a close friend of mine, be the executive editor this year, it's been fun, getting to communicate with him and see how he's taken that over and how well he's doing being in charge of it.
So we're both retired athletes here at Waynesburg University. You came in to do cross country and track and field. Just tell me, how difficult is it for you to balance all the different organizations that we just touched up on in the Department of Communication and you being an athlete?
It's definitely a fine line with balancing it, and the reason I ended up quitting was because I wanted to make sure I could go all in on communications, being on the 4th floor of Buell. I wanted to go all in on what I was doing here with the TV station, the radio station, and the Yellow Jacket. And with doing the cross country and track, I wasn't able to put forth my best effort. So I knew that I needed to give up one of them. And long term, it made a lot more sense to give up running collegiately than it did to give up on TV and radio and stuff. So it was definitely tough. I did enjoy some of the memories from running. I made a few really close friends, and I'm still they were a couple years older, but I'm still in touch with them today. Some of my best friends I made through that team, and it was really nice my freshman year, because I didn't go to sports broadcasting camp or anything, so I didn't really have a friend group within the department. So I remember my freshman year when I came in, that was kind of who I got to be friends with. It was nice to have an immediate group of people to be friends with on campus. But as I got older, I dedicated more time to spending time in the department, and I started to miss a lot more practices. I wasn't really performing as well as I would have liked to, so I decided I needed to give it up in order to focus on the comm department. And I'm really happy with some of the memories I've made with running, as well as some of the people I met. But in the long run, it made a lot more sense for me to just go all in on being here in Buell.
Coming into the 4th floor here at Buell your freshman year, did you ever foresee yourself becoming the general manager of WCTV or no?
No, that was something that was interesting, to say the least. I never really thought of myself as I came in here my freshman year. I didn't know if I was going to be a leader in the department. Like I said, I didn't know people as well. I hung out with cross country, my friends from cross country more so than people within the department. And the first time I ever thought about a leadership position, I remember it was fall break my freshman year. I was talking to Michael Capelli, and I think I had talked to him about, he ran, he was in the comm department, so we were just discussing some of the things we had in common there. And I remember mentioning that I was like, I think if I'm going to be a leader in the department, I said, I really want to eye up being the GM of the radio station. I thought that could be fun. I was like, I think I could see myself being in charge of the radio station, taking that over. And quickly after that, I realized that wasn't going to happen, because second semester rolls around, and I started to show more interest in the newscast, ended up producing the newscast. Paul Zalakar kind of passed the torch to me with that, and kind of showed me the ropes of how to produce it. And then my sophomore year, I'd started to shadow Paul a little bit more with him helping me with the newscast, and I took an interest in being the GM of WCTV. And then I talked to Paul about it, talked to Melinda about it, and they both were really encouraging of me. I interviewed for it my junior year, and I did not get it. And last year, heading into my senior year, I interviewed for it again. I was really hoping I'd get it. Ended up getting the position. I'm so grateful that I ended up in this leadership position. But for me, freshman year, if you would have told me I would have been the GM of CTV, I definitely would have been pretty surprised about that. So it was something I never expected, but was a very nice surprise at the end of the day.
So you're very ubiquitous with your skill set here at WCTV. Let's say you have to go into a career in television. Would you rather be behind the scenes, kind of like in the general manager role that you're in right now, or would you rather be up here, kind of like how we are right now, on TV, on camera?
It just depends on the day, because sometimes sometimes I'm in a mood where I'm just, not really in the mood to be in front of the camera. I come in, I'm like, I'd just rather sit back, direct a show, or, oversee what's going on, kind of take on more of a producer role or something along those lines, because I really did enjoy my 2 years producing the newscast. But a lot of the time, I think I enjoy being on air. I enjoy kind of getting to sit down, share my opinions on certain topics, like I've done on Plead Your Case or the Waynesburg Effect, kind of give my view of what's going on in the world, of sports. And I do just like being able to be on camera, sit there with some of my friends like we are right now, and just have good conversation and make those memories on air. But regardless of what role I would be in with a TV station, if that's where I end up, I think I'd be happy just because I think everything I've done that's been involved with TV, I've enjoyed. So I don't think there's really anything I wouldn't want to do. But I would probably lean towards being an on-air personality as opposed to behind the scenes. But like I said, it's a coin flip. It just depends on the day sometimes.
So what has been your favorite or most influential moment that you've had here at Waynesburg University?
Oh, that's tough. Moment is tough. That's I don't know. There's been so many different moments, so many different memories that have kind of influenced me here. I do think, I don't know. That's such a good question. It's hard to pinpoint one thing to say it was the most influential because I think everything is just a domino effect. Because you could say whenever Paul had approached me about, he said, because I'd showed interest about taking over the newscast my freshman year, at the end of my freshman year, I said, hey, I might want to take over since you're going to be the GM. I wouldn't mind producing it. And then you could say that was a domino effect that led to everything. So whenever Paul showed me the ropes and gave me the opportunity to produce the newscast, that's probably led to everything, to where I am today, to where we are today as WCTV. So I would say that's probably the one moment that you can look back on and say, whenever I decided to apply for the newscast position and take that over, that's led to everything. But there's so many other little moments in between there that it's hard to say one of those defined my time here. So I'd say looking back, probably the domino effect we got from producing the newscast, but there's so many other memories or moments that I could talk about.
So what personal growth have you seen in yourself here at Waynesburg?
I feel like there's definitely a lot. I can look back at myself freshman year, sophomore year, or even at times last year and say that I'm a very different person than I am today. And I think a lot of that's in a good way. I would definitely say I've probably become a lot more, I try and think more about what I'm doing or what's going on around me because there's so much going on in our department, and it's funny because you work with people on this floor and you never know what type of mood someone's going to be, and you see people at their best, you see them at their worst. So I'm always trying to be considerate of what's going on with others because I know sometimes we have shows they don't go the best, and sometimes you just want to be like, all right, you made a simple mistake, like how did you let that happen? But a lot of the time I try and make sure I'm thinking before I talk a little bit more. That's one thing I've seen in myself. I've also just become a lot more, I think, more open in a way, because I think I've always been an extrovert, but I think in terms of just talking about anything, I've always been a little bit more off limits with talking about certain subjects, but I'm willing to talk about anything with people nowadays and feel like I've become a lot more open to everyone in the department as opposed to just a few people as I was early on in my collegiate career. So that's probably some of the areas of growth. And then just in terms of my skills on the camera, behind the camera, everything like that, I definitely feel like I've made massive improvements, leaps and bounds from where I was when I first got on camera to where I am now. I recently had just, was scrolling through the Woo DP page and looked at one of the first shows I was ever on. And it's almost embarrassing looking back at the way it was early on. But it's so funny because now you can look at shows I've done recently and I can just see where I've improved and how much I've improved and how far I've come, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, grow is definitely the Waynesburg University motto. And it's funny that you say that as well because I kind of do like the same thing. I'll go back, I'll look at it, I'll be like, oh man, I was so bad back then. But it's kind of cool, like how you just mentioned, to see that growth process. So Matt, what are your plans after graduation?
I'm not really sure where I want to end up or what I want to do right now. There's so many options. Everything's pretty much open right now. I know that because of COVID, the job market isn't ideal. So that's something I'll have to watch out for. But I just want to make sure I get a job that I enjoy, that I'm happy with. I want to make sure I'm, take a position that I'm not going to hate, which I think that I'm in a field where I'm going to enjoy most of the options that I have once I can find a job. But I'm still looking at things. There's so many different things that I'm interested in right now as well. I really like television. I could see myself producing. I could see myself trying to be a reporter, even writing a little bit too. I really love covering sports. I love talking about sports. I know we talk about sports off camera all the time, so I love talking about sports. I love talking about politics. So anything that involves any of that, I could see myself applying for a job with that and taking a leap and seeing where I end up. So there's so many different options, which is the nice thing about this field, that I don't really have a definitively pinpointed anything that I want to do just yet. And I know it's getting a little late in the ball game, but there's still time to figure it out.
So what would be the dream job, or at least the dream goal for you after graduation? It's not going to be what's going to happen immediately. It'd take some time to work to it, but what would that dream be for you, Matt?
I think probably having a TV show would be nice. I don't necessarily know what it could be. I mean, like I said, like I like politics. I would love to host a political talk show, something along those lines, have my own political talk show where, I'm delivering my opinions on what's going on today in America, or even doing something with sports as well. I am very passionate about, my Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers. I have dual fandom with those two teams. So something working with a team that I care about, or any team really. So I think as long as I'm doing something that I'm passionate about that I can get up to every day and, look forward to, I think that's big. But I would say ideally having my own show/podcast type of deal where I'm making money, of course, that would be nice. Would be nice. And then the subjects or whatever I'm talking about, that's fluid. I can talk about whatever for however long, because I feel like I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable amongst a few different subjects. So anything along those lines would be nice.
Matt, what will you miss most about your time here at Waynesburg University?
Oh, the people. Definitely the people. I've made some really great friends here, and I've already lost a few from the graduating classes the last year, 2 years even. But there's definitely a lot of people that I'm going to miss. I know that I've stayed in touch with some of the guys that have graduated over the past couple of years. I still talk to Mitch Montani, Dakota Kiefer, Hugh O'Neill. I talk to those guys a good bit, as well as, keeping in touch a little bit with some of the other guys from that graduating class, Paul Zalakar, Sam Hickson, amongst many others. So I like the people that I've met here have been awesome. I've made some really great friends. You're included in that. Chris Hulse has been one of my best friends throughout my time at Waynesburg. So it's going to be very different, not, getting up every day, coming up here, seeing you guys, sitting in the TV office, chatting for hours. And I think that's probably, if I had to say one thing, just sitting in the TV office and talking to people about whatever the topic is for 2 or 3 hours in between classes, or 20 or 30 minutes in between TV shows, that's going to be one of those things that I'll look back 20, 30 years from now pretty fondly on those memories that I made, just sitting there, talking to some of the great friends that I've made, some of the unexpected friends I've made as well. So definitely the people at Waynesburg, there's nothing better than the people I've met here.
I 100% agree with you, Matt. I will severely miss you. You've been a great friend to me. You've been a great mentor over my time here at Waynesburg University, whether if it's WCTV or anything else in the Department of Communication here at Waynesburg. Stay tuned to the YouTube page, WUDP, for more senior spotlights.